Good evening, everybody. It is Steve with Real Progressives. And for those of you who have paid attention recently, you know that I've been doing a lot of talking about the Draft Bernie movement. I've been talking about Nick Branya, Cornel West, and my desire to suck the Democratic Party dry, quite frankly, and start anew outside there and bring all of our good friends into one happy huddle. But I've also said, because Real Progressives is not one thing or another, Real Progressives pride ourselves in supporting progressives wherever they are. And so with that in mind, I'm going to bring on Sam Ronan. Sam is doing some pretty impressive things on his own right with Our Voice. And I want to give him a chance to come out and talk about what's going on. Sam, welcome to Real Progressive, sir.
Steve, thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure when I get to meet you guys. But as you said, I'm trying to take as much of this opportunity to talk about Our Voice as possible and like you said, make us have a third option rather than just deal with the Republicans or the Democrats.
Very good. So Sam, let me be the good steward of Real Progressives that I have to be. I want to ask you a couple tough questions, and then we can get into some more fun stuff.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the Democratic Party to me is DOA. Doesn't mean I won't support individuals that run as a Democrat. I mean, you've got some really good ideas. I happen to know we've talked offline. I'm very, very excited about some of the ideas that you're talking about. I would like to get to those in a minute.
Sure.
But in my opinion, and this is a very serious thing, and I know you're aware of this, which is why you ran for the DNC chair. But I want you to address something, and this is going to be tough. I'm just letting you know. There are those that say that Sam Ronan ran as the DNC chair as quote-unquote controlled opposition to give the people a voice, basically, without really giving them a voice, by allowing them to feel edgy, staying in the party, but really at the end of the day, not. What would you say to detractors that would say something like that?
Well, first of all, to the detractors, if I was basically an insurgent placed there by the DNC, I'm still waiting for my paycheck. Let's just be real on that. I ran for the DNC chair because I got involved in politics, and this stemmed from the government shutdown in 2013. That's when I got involved. And unfortunately, when I ran for office, it was during a very, what's the word I want to look for? Tumultuous time in our country's history. And so when I ran for state representative, I ended up getting beat down by the Democratic Party, right? That's the time where they were told we're only going to support the top 6 candidates and stuff like that. So then when we lost dismally throughout the entire country, I was just as lost as everybody else. And I wanted to find out if anybody stepped up to take the plate to actually fix these problems. So I went to a future forum in Columbus where I saw a few candidates speak, and I was not impressed. The one question that was asked that mattered was, what will you do to improve the Democratic Party? And instead of getting up off that chair, stepping off the platform, and asking some person in the audience, handing them the microphone and saying, what can I do? What would you like me to do? What have we done wrong, and what would make you feel more a part of the process? They didn't do that. They gave platitudes. That is why I ran, because I saw with my own 2 eyes and I heard from my own 2 ears that there is no leadership in the Democratic Party, and those who stepped up to the plate were not up to the challenge. And quite frankly, I've been vindicated on that point. Nothing against Tom Perez as a person, but a leader for the times that we are in right now, he is not. And I ran for the sake of trying to highlight that problem and to also convey the message that we, the people, want a voice. We're not going to ask politely. We will take a spot. And this 27-year-old who has no background in politics put himself there and proved that it can be done.
Very good. So, all right. So, and then one, by the way, thank you for that answer.
Oh, yeah.
The other question, and this is, to address the people that are just, no matter what you say, are probably going to be naysayers. And I want to just address this as well. All of a sudden, a lot of these, 501c4s started popping up left, right, and center as a result of this. Some have said you've tried to leverage the opportunity in an act of opportunism. I don't believe that, but at the same time, though, I feel it's fair to have you on camera to address those accusations. Sam, I don't believe that, so you know. Just what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's not very opportunistic to blow $800 on an organization and then have to spend your entire life trying to promote it, especially when you're new to the field. So, like you said, the naysayers are going to be naysayers, but I will address it. I am happy to announce that the 501c4, that is Our Voice Initiative, is live. You can find it. This Friday, in fact, I'm going to a local banking, the First National Bank, and I'm going to set up our bank account. And we're going to have an official bank account with the official funds to come in through donations. We've already made several partnerships, and we're working on developing a few more. I don't know. I will simply say that New Jersey Awakens is on the table. Young Progressives of America, we're working on a partnership form, the legal agreement, so to speak. We're working with Berniecrats. So right now they're a Facebook group, but they have a website, and they're also have a large community, and they want to integrate with us as well. We've already partnered with Politics Reborn and Take Back Politics as well. The former deals with local organizing, and the later deals with getting ballot initiatives. So literally, Fight for 15, legalize it, whatever you want. That's what they're focused on, and we're happy to help them. And as far as opportunity goes, I've said from the very beginning that what I want to do is empower people, and that what we lack is a structure, and that we lack is knowledge. And Our Voice is nothing less than that. We are the support structure. Think of it, and the only terms I can give it is the umbrella, right? Think of it as the quote-unquote third party that we've been waiting for. And, Justice Democrats, not that we're partied with them, but you get the idea. Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, the Berniecrats, the Young Progressives of America, and New Jersey Awakens, and all these other organizations. Picture them as caucuses or organizations underneath that do their own thing, but just happen to use the umbrella of the brand to help proliferate their own message, so that when you see the birdie of Our Voice, that is an organization that has your best interest in heart, and that it'll fight for you, and that it'll defend you tooth and nail.
Very good, Sam. I appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit. You made a comment to me off air that I really thought was impressive, and I think people, this is what happens whenever an election cycle ends. Folks are like, "Where'd he go?" And you're like, "Hey, I haven't been idle. I haven't been idle." Talk to me about that. Talk to us about that.
Right. So, I have not stopped working since, literally the day after the election, I launched Our Voice, and I had a team of maybe 15 or 16 dedicated people that were right there with me. We got the website built. We started our branding process. We came up with our message and our structure and, the core values and all that. And fast forward 2 months, we're in all 50 states. We're developing boots on the ground organization after a short 2 months. Our web application, or rather our phone application, is almost at beta stage after 2 months. I want to really emphasize that, because that is a shout out to the team themselves. In 2 months, they've pretty much taken nothing and turned it into a web application. We also are going to be able to launch it on the Play Store and the Apple Play Store by the end of our Indiegogo, which is also ongoing. Everything costs money. Everything is a fundraiser, right? But the premise of Our Voice is, again, to be that overarching structure, meaning if we can raise money as Our Voice, we can distribute it back to the other organizations the way it ought to be. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're talking about. It's not like we're asking people for $1,000 or $100. We're asking for $1. We're asking for $5. Just a Frappuccino from Starbucks towards this, so that your voice can be heard. Because at the end of the day, activism and political change requires all of us working on it together, not oversaturating the pool. We can have great candidates like we saw in Minnesota, right? But if they don't get the support, if they don't get the financing, then they still ultimately lose. And even with John Ossoff and I believe it was Georgia, he made it to the runoff basically on his own volition with a little bit of a progressive push. Now imagine if he had the Our Voice structure to give a whole national spotlight to him. We can win, folks. That's the whole point. That's why I haven't been idols, because what we lack is just a sense of unity, a sense of togetherness. And you said it earlier, you support Nick Brana and the draft Bernie Sanders. Great, I do too. That's the thing. I support them. I want to take them as part of our voice and bring them together so that we can work towards the common good, which is getting people elected, making our activism worth a damn, and actually affecting social change.
Very good, Tim. All right, so let me ask you the next question, which I think is pretty impressive, quite frankly. You came to me, and one of the things that I've enjoyed about our conversations is that you recognize you don't know everything, and a lot of politicians don't walk around that way. They feel like by admitting they don't know something, by asking for help, by talking about issues that maybe they're not quite familiar with, that somehow or another it'll be seen as a weakness. You, however, openly ask questions and ask for help, and have been pretty bold in doing so. I think that's a tremendously good trait. A person that's a full cup, I envision, the full cup, and you're trying to put something in it, new knowledge maybe, and it's just all over the floor, right?
Right.
You came to me and you talked to me about MMT, and you're open to it, and you're learning, and you're trying to figure things out. And one of the things that we had talked about was what would be a good type of piece of legislation or something like that you could get behind that could really, really get the ball flowing. And I thought about it, and it's like, John Conyers for years, incorrect economics, let's just be fair.
Right.
But John Conyers has been pushing for quite some time for the federal job guarantee. Well, modern monetary theory champions like Stephanie Kelton, Pavlina Cherneva, L. Randall Wray, etc., Aaron Ellis, and of course Joe Firestone, and many, many more, Fidel Kaboub and Matt Forstater. All these folks are all heavily pushing for federal job guarantees that will eradicate involuntary unemployment and eliminate the wealth gap, because so much of the wealth gap comes directly from us being forced into no-win loans because we don't have enough money coming in. A federal job guarantee eradicates that upward path of that money and puts a huge portion of our national GDP into the pockets of the 99%. So this, my friend, you asked, this is what I would suggest getting behind. Finding a way to do an MMT compliant federal jobs guarantee, because somebody's going to try and whittle in some weird myths and legends and whatever the final bill is. Why start in the middle? Start where you belong, true north, right there, and just say flat out, we're going to make this federal job guarantee include health care for all, Medicare for all. We're going to include dental, vision, et cetera. And all of a sudden, boom, that would be the platform of ages. That, to me, it's the winner, winner, chicken dinner, brother.
And, it's funny because I agree. And it's not just because I agree because I'm on this, this interview with you. I came up with some similar idea. And the funny thing is it derived from the movie, now I'm trying to think, the Starship Troopers.
Oh, yeah.
So the reason why I say Starship Troopers is because what you do, like, for instance, if you have a federal jobs guarantee program, you have to find some way to figure out what your aptitude is. Well, Starship Troopers did that. You take your test, and you just figure out what your aptitude is. And the super smart people, they get all the way up here, and they become the doctors, the physicists, and so on and so forth. The next tier get to be your engineers, your lawyers, and, your whatever. And then you got your regular people like me, just grunts. We just do work. We lift heavy things, pick them up, and put them back down again, right? You would need some sort of aptitude test to make sure. And not like the SAT or the ACT or anything crazy. Like, literally, do you know what this is? Oh, that's a cell phone. Great. Do you know what this is? That's a mouse. Great. Things like that. An aptitude test would definitely encourage the universal health care and education facets. It would increase it would eliminate unemployment. Absolutely. And it would give a guaranteed jobs program that would be directed towards things that are necessary. Because let's be real, Steve, there's plenty of jobs out there. There's just not a lot of skilled labor to fill them. We need construction workers. We need maintenance, like car maintenance people. We need electricians. We need plumbers. We need HVAC. We need all these other things that are in vocational schools that people have for so long been told that if you do that, you're not smart enough. Wrong. My little brother is going on an electrician apprentice program. This kid at 19 years old, when he's working on a state job, is getting $30 an hour pay. 19 years old, $30 an hour pay, being an electrician. That's exactly what we need. And a federal jobs program would not only guarantee jobs, but that's exactly how we had our highway system built, and probably our rail system back in the day. Imagine that in the present, rebuilding our roads, updating them, making them futuristic, creating an actual mass transit system that allows you to go from coast to coast. High-speed rail. Could you imagine high-speed rail for people and for the transportation of goods? You could create hubs all across the country every 500 miles and make them epicenters, just these mega centers for goods and consumption. It would be the dream come true, Stephen. Absolutely, that is a platform that I would champion for when I run in Congress for 2018.
Very, very good. All right, so Sam, let's talk a little bit about what this app is. Tell me what app you're creating. Help our audience understand what it is that you're doing with our voice right now.
Yeah, let me grab a little document so I can visually show people, so I'm not just reading off of my computer screen. So the long and short of it is that the app is going to allow us to bring together all of the information that we need, right? And you know what? This is probably going to be reversed anyway, isn't it?
No, it's perfect.
Shucks.
It's perfect. You can see it just fine. Yep.
Right. So that's what it's going to essentially look like. It's going to be on your phone, and you're going to be able to press buttons, and then it'll pull up things. And okay, the nitty gritty is you need to be able to know who's running for office in your area, who is challenging that person, and how to run for office. Because the biggest question that I always get a blank stare from is, do you know how to run for mayor? And that's the biggest, I have no idea. Well, the second thing is, when we have those candidates running, we want to be able to, A, show them who they need to contact in terms of unions and students and media contacts, but also their volunteer lists. And there needs to be a central place to find them, right? So when you get this app, you can sign up to be a volunteer. You can sign up to be a candidate. You can sign up to do whatever and bring this information in. It gives us all something to do and work towards. It gives us something to put our efforts behind so that our voices are actually being heard, right? Well, there's a second part to it, too. We want to build a GOTV app that gives us heat maps of not what your party affiliation is, but what your beliefs and your values are. So what we want to do is literally see where every voter in the country stands on the issues, so that even if you're in, the most liberal part of California, well, you're not going to need every single focus of the progressive agenda. You'll probably just need healthcare, education, and probably legalize it, right? Why worry about Second Amendment and why worry about, I don't know, clean energy in these smaller locations if that's not the big issue? We tend to lose our elections because we focus on the wrong topic. Not that clean energy isn't important or that getting the Second Amendment hammered down isn't an important issue either, but if it doesn't matter to your constituents or that it doesn't have as big of an impact on their immediate now, why would you waste your time talking about it? So we want to not just empower candidates to have resources and tools to run campaigns effectively. We also want to be able to show what your community's focuses are on and help generate those efforts, those rallies, and those team meetings. And then finally, we're also trying to be a directory, a central directory where at a given location, I'll just use Los Angeles, you'll be able to find out who the activist groups are, broken down by what their focus is. You'll be able to do social engagement, like civic engagement, like the Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Rotary, and so on and so forth. And you'll also be able to find out who your local bands and artists are, because I feel, and we at Our Voice feel, that culture in our country is the most underutilized thing in social change, politics, and activism. And we want to fix that. We want to change it and bring it back as well.
Sam, I want to ask you some questions that are a little bit nuanced. See if this works for you.
Okay.
I want to know point blank what the process you went through to design your app, to walk through the requirements, to walk through the design, to walk through all this stuff. Can you talk to me about that process? You didn't just come up with this in your head at 3 a.m. by yourself and say, I'm going to do this. You had a team working with you, correct?
Well, actually, no. The app was derived over time of running for office, running for DNC chair, and seeing the things that we lack. And what I would have liked to see and have at my disposal as a candidate for either one of those things. The artistry, the bringing the culture in, was added afterwards, and making a heat map was suggested as being able to be integrated in the original app. We weren't sure if we could do one or the other. I mean, if we had to do two different ones. But the team has definitely helped with the organization and structure, because at first I was just like, well, you just click on it, and then you click another button and things happen, right? And they're like, no, you have to kind of have to be a little bit more specific. So yes, the team.
Talk to me, because this is a really, really important thing, right? I think that a lot of our movement, quite frankly, is looking for quick fixes, and they like to just jump. They just like to do things. But there's an entire planning, design process, a vetting, a verification. Does this meet your needs? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Let's go forward. Thank you. It's not like just some sort of slap happy off in the corner.
Yeah.
How do you know if your needs?
Exactly. And so what we did, or the reason for the app, was, what is a political party and what are they supposed to do? And a political party is supposed to give you the information on how to run for office, the resources to reach out to schools, unions, and media contacts so that you can get your name out there, and also on how to procure your campaign needs, right? Your buttons and flags and signs and all that. But it's also the volunteer list. You should have volunteers ready to go at your disposal, or a means to reach out to other like-minded communities or organizations, so that you can be like, hi, my name is Sam, I'm running for Congress, I really like what you're doing, and I think you'll really want me in office, kind of thing. And I noticed that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party don't do that unless you're right here under their wing, unless you're the chosen one. And so the app is meant to be a political party in an app that you can have at your disposal at the palm of your hand. And that's the whole premise going on with it. And then later on, we were thinking, you know what, we should have a GOTV facet to it. I'm like, yeah, I definitely wanted that. I just didn't know how to, bring it into the app, but we should. But we should focus it as a heat map on the issues, not as another MPG van, which focuses on if you're a Republican or a Democrat or leaning one way or the other. That's silly, because guess what? There's plenty of conservative folks in this country that like 99% of the progressive agenda. They just might not like the buzzwords, but at the end of the day, they like the populism. And so that's what we have to do. We have to reach people for what they are, people. And we have to reach them here and here, not on whatever buzzword or whatever label they want to affiliate themselves with.
Understood. All right, so talk to me a little bit. What is going on with you outside of the app? Obviously, launching your 501c4 and getting it. Talk about your plans to run for office.
Oh, yeah, no. Steve Chabot is my current congressman, and he's in Ohio's 1st Congressional. So feel free to Wikipedia him and Google him. He's basically, everything he's voted on is the wrong side of history, right? And he's an old man, angry, never shows up, right? Like just the bad apple. And the past few of his town halls, they've been no-shows, or they've been telephones, right? So aside from his policies being not good for the country, let alone the district, and then aside from the fact that he's never there, it's just an easy antic. And the fact is, the Republican Party gerrymandered this district, the Ohio's 1st Congressional, just so he could stay in office, because it used to be red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, and he'd be the one that got the red win, and then the blue guy would be whoever it was. So it's going to be just poetic justice to unseat this person in his seat of power during the most powerful time in his party's history, due to his, lack of engaging with the people. And now part of the campaign will obviously involve bringing people in from all over the country, either donations or phone banking or helping out in some form or fashion. And I am way looking forward to that, and I'm welcoming it in the very near future. But we're going to launch our campaign, and I think you'll love this one, Steve. We're going to videotape me outside of his office. It'll be locked, of course. I'm going to knock on it. I'm going to be like, hey, where's Steve Chabot? His name's also Steve, sorry. Where are you? I've been hearing some bad things about you, and then I go in a tirade of what he's done wrong. And then I say, why isn't anybody stopping you? Why isn't anybody stepping in to replace you and unseat you from Congress? And then it's like, oh, wait, I can do that. I think I will do that. And then I look in the camera and I say, I, Samuel Ronan, will unseat you, Steve Shabbat. I'm going to run for Congress in this district, and I look forward to seeing you in the primary or the general election. Pow, pow. And that just hopefully goes viral. So, yeah, that's the long and short of it. Right now, I have a job again. I'm working with Shipt. They do grocery shopping. I'll do a little shout out like that. But no, seriously, I have to get back into the regular swing of things until I can make lots of money by being a public figure. I have to go back to work. So that's actually where I was prior to this. And, I look forward to engaging with the community. I like this job. I don't know if it'll be able to pay my bills, so I'm still going to be looking. But to just do it one a day and reaching out to the community, because these people are the poor. They're the ones that are old. They're the ones that have like 5 kids and they're a single mother or something. Or, the husband works all day, but they still need to go grab groceries. I think it's a wonderful community engagement thing. I mean, I would consider it a volunteer if I didn't get paid, and I would absolutely be willing to do it as a volunteer thing. It's Meals on Wheels, in my opinion. But that's a little bit more of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to engage more with the community. I want to engage with students. I want to be guest speakers at like political science classes. I just want to show people that if a 27-year-old veteran, if a 27-year-old grunt in the Air Force can run for office and make a splash, so can you. And that's the whole point. I want to show people that they can do it. And you know what? I want to be able to run for Congress and have the next guy replace me or gal, or have them run for governor. There's nothing to say that I'm the best and the brightest of the progressive millennial movement. Nothing to say that whatsoever. We need to start mentoring each other. We need to start sharing each other's, best practices and start working together to push everybody forward. Because you and I both know, Steve, that we can win, not just in 2017, but in 2018. Every single one of those seats are up for grabs in Congress, all 435. It's a matter of, are we willing enough? Are we angry enough? And are we organized enough to get our people elected? And that's what I'm trying to do with our voice, with my own campaign, and with these types of interviews.
Very good. All right. So I want to ask you another question. Given the fact that you are running somewhat as a rogue, if you will, being that you've got your own thing, are you seeking Democrat support in terms of the structure? Or how does that work when you're at, because obviously I've never run for this. I just know that I've watched the way that they treat anybody that it doesn't sit there and toe the Hillary as a god line.
Right. So am I going to try and seek the D-Trip and the Democratic Party like ODP and the local party's endorsement and their support? Sure. Yeah, I'm going to be running on their ticket. I mean, may as well use what's at my disposal. Do I expect that I'll be getting it? No. And my own county chair has said that she wasn't very pleased about some of the things I've said about the party, both at the local, state, and, well, I guess third federal level. But it's not that I'm, so to speak, talking bad or bashing the Democratic Party for the sake of doing it. All I'm doing is pointing out the weaknesses that could be turned into strengths. And if that makes me the bad guy, then I suppose that's what it is. But to your point, NPG ban, I think, is something that they offer to any candidate, so long as they're using it during the primary or the general. And it's a very useful tool, especially to cut turfs, so I know where I went and where to not go again. But short of that, I have to run as a Democrat because it's Ohio and you can't run as an independent, blah, blah, blah. But, whatever help they're willing to give me, that's fine. I'm willing to take it, but I am not willing to bend. I will not start towing this neoliberal, line, or, start, worshiping Hillary or Nancy or whatever. If they want to help me, great. If they don't, fine. But if they want me to change, that's simply not going to happen. And that's the other point of our voice. We should be able to infiltrate any party just based on how we need to get on the ballot. In rural America, you run as a Republican, and everywhere else, you run as a Democrat. And in those few places where you can run independent, do it. That's my philosophy, and that's exactly how I'm going to run this campaign. And the Democrats are more than welcome to get on board or get out of the way.
Now, let me ask you a question, Sam. Obviously, as I've said many times, and I really have been very not shy about saying it. Yeah, I think of the Democratic Party as a vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it as something that lives and dies off the efforts of others, pays lip service to each time a progressive comes up, gives them a kiss on the cheek, and makes them leave through the back door.
Oh, yeah.
And we're a good booty call every couple of years. And and I'm dead serious. I've always considered us to be a political booty call to the Democratic Party.
Yep.
And worse, I consider them to appropriate progressive culture, like doing, Mammy, doing political blackface, the big eyes and the big, all that fake stuff that's so disrespectful and insensitive. I see them doing that to progressives repeatedly. And I think it's very important because the word progressive should be able to retain what I consider to be its beautiful essence. Mm-hmm. And when I see them appropriate it, and when I see them leveraging things that are absolutely antithetical to progress, mm-hmm. it really, really hurts the name. It almost taints it like the Republicans and all used to do with socialism and these other words. They've kind of bastardized it, and I want to reclaim it. So
I agree.
Well, that's what I figured. That's why I'm taking this to you. How do you propose to slice and dice that fake narrative that the Democratic Party tries to do so often? They say, well, we're progressive. No, you're Democrats. It's a huge difference. You're not a progressive. You could be a progressive.
You could.
But you're not. So
right.
Talk to me about that for a minute.
Steve, your answer lies in the efforts that others are doing already, right? Draft Bernie Sanders, Our Voice, all these other organizations, right? The problem is the Democratic Party doesn't realize it has lost already. And the Republicans are in the same boat, but they actually have a little bit more organization and structure, and they can actually reach their base. See, it's not so much that running as a Democrat means I become this evil person. It means I'm using whatever I can get on a ballot for. And I don't think Democrats realize that, which is exactly why they didn't help John, and it's exactly why they didn't help, I can't remember his name, in Montana. And that's why they lose. But the second anything good happens, they're like, oh yeah, we were there, we helped. It's like, no, you weren't. And I'm trying really hard not to swear, Steve. It's getting difficult at this point. But you're right. The Democratic Party wants to co-opt our success, and they want to make it their success. And what we have to do is say, no, we used your name to get on a ballot because right now we're a duopoly, and right now the progressive movement is still kind of coalescing. We have a few parties and a few factions, and we're getting there. We're becoming less saturated, but we're getting there. We are going to be this unified thing. The Justice Democrat wing will end up working with the Our Revolution wing, which will work with the Draft Bernie wing, and so on and so forth. And maybe there'll be a conglomerate that calls themselves something else, or maybe we all do agree to be under the Our Voice. It doesn't really matter what we do or how we get there, so long as we eventually do. And that's how we take our progressive name back. That's how we take our values back, because we will have the strength and the fortitude to do so. Now, let's just play devil's advocate. I run as a Democrat, and I make it through the primary, and let's just say I win in the general election. Samuel Ronan, congressman for Ohio. Well, won't I then have to start towing the line with the Democratic Party? What if I vote against what they want me to vote for? Can't they ostracize me? Can't they make my life a living hell? Well, here's the question. If they've already not helped me during one race and then gave me the cold shoulder when I ran for the DNC, and then barely lifted any finger whatsoever to help me win in the general or in the primary, what loyalty do I have to the party? And what's more, what gives me more popularity? Towing the line with the Democratic Party or saying exactly what needs to be said? I believe being able to call a press conference and calling out the bullshit of Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz, Nancy Pelosi, because arguably, no, there is no room for pro-lifers and anti-choice people in the Democratic Party. I'm sorry, what's next? Being able to be a racist? Being able to not like gay marriage or the trans community? Where do we draw the line? If we can say, oh, you can be pro-life, oh yeah, we should be fiscally responsible next, right? We should start taxing the poor and giving to the rich. Oh wait, that's already the neoliberal policy. So no, that is not progressive, nor is that liberal, and I will absolutely fight against it tooth and nail. And guess what? Every time a Democrat, in name or in actuality, does that, they make national headlines. Tulsi Gabbard said, no, why are we trying to blow up Syria when they're in a civil war? That's not right. She became a national icon like that, more so than she already is. But the Democrats tried to attack her. Well, guess what? Tulsi's spine is pretty damn sturdy, and so is mine. And that's how we fight back against the Democrats. We show them that we cannot be bought, that we will not bend, nor will we break.
Very good. So let me ask you something, Sam. You have obviously, as running as a Democrat, how do you build coalitions with people that are staunchly anti-Democrat, who despise the Democratic Party, yet would support many of the policies and stuff that you, in fact, would be running on? How do you do that?
So it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of people are kind of, they're not fringe. They're like, hey, I just want to hear good ideas. The 20%, they're fringe, right? And whether you're talking about fringe of the Republican and the Democratic Party coming together, and then the 80% of the electorate just doesn't give a damn. They just vote whatever happens to be popular at the time. It's the 80-20 rule. And I've been able to build coalitions with people who are open to the bigger picture discussion. We need to work together. Yeah, you're right. That does make sense because we've been throwing spaghetti against the wall. Nothing's been sticking. Maybe if we throw 2 plates of spaghetti against the wall, something else will stick. So those are the coalitions I've been building. And the organizations, the Young Progressives of America, Bernie-crats, Politics Reborn, Take Back Elections, and New Jersey Awakens, these are all organizations and people that are very open to the idea of collaboration and very open to the idea of focusing on their niche, but allowing an umbrella organization to help proliferate their brand even further. Because remember we talked about the app. My vision would be Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, Our Revolution, Draft Bernie, and Bernie-crats of whatever, all put forth their candidate with all their own logos. But it's the Our Voice networks that's comprised of every single progressive organization in the country votes on it. So that of those 5 or 6 or whatever, whoever ends up getting it, they are the one that all of us end up supporting, but the Justice Democrats or the Bernie-crats of whatever, they still get to have their logo on there, right? You still get to have your little JD. And maybe the next one gets to be Our Revolution. And maybe the second or the third one down is also a Justice Dem, but maybe the fourth one is something else entirely. We can still be a unified coalition of autonomous organizations under a major umbrella. It's just we have to be able to work together and agree that if this candidate gets it, we're not going to try and undermine that process. That's all it is. It's just a little bit of cooperation. And the only compromise would be if your guy didn't win. It's like, shucks, my JD didn't win again, or my Our Revolution didn't win again.
So let me ask you a question that's been haunting me a little bit. As someone who's passionately for renewable energy and is looking to keep the planet inhabitable for my children,
yeah,
I see an awful lot of equivocating from even progressives, quite frankly, but mostly in the Democratic Party, who kind of, it's like, hey, that sounds a little too edgy. Maybe we need to pull back from that. I'm really having a struggle with this because it's like, if the scientists say that this is happening, if science is directing us towards another mass extinction, if science is suggesting that if we don't do something ASAP, not in 40 years, not in 20 years, not in 10 years, but today, if we're not really, really seriously pushing for that and we're kind of soft pedaling it, what does that say about the science, or what does that say about the people? I mean, I'm saying to myself, we're in an event horizon. What are we doing? And I just don't see any urgency. I really don't.
There isn't any. And the proof is in the pudding, right? Why are we still fighting wars for oil? Why are we invading our own damn country for oil? All right? I am still furious about Standing Rock because that shit is still going on. And there's other pipelines across the country that are still trying to be built. When we have the technology, when we have the resources, okay, fine. Our economy isn't structured around MMT, but we still have an $18 trillion frickin' GDP. You'd think you could put it towards some better use than sending our boys and girls to war and undercutting the middle class, right? We see it all over Europe that most of the Western countries are either 50% to 100% on renewable energies right now. Like, this isn't a question of if it is possible, but a matter of why the hell haven't we gotten on board? And the problem is there isn't a message like that. There is nobody in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party saying, you know, guys, maybe we should be investing in, I don't know, hydrogen, solar panels, thorium, like literally anything that isn't from the frickin' ground causing earthquakes for the first time ever and pretty much polluting our water, our land, and our air. You know, that solar spill that happened yesterday? It was a bit of a doozy, wasn't it? Or that wind spill? I mean, it was atrocious what happened, right? The wind blew and we saw, leaves go by. Or it was an extra sunny, bright day. That to me, I just don't understand why that logic isn't happening. And you said, is it the organization or is it the people? And unfortunately, I think it's the people because the propaganda for oil and natural gas is so strong and profound and has been for over a century that, you'd have to break into it. And unfortunately, with the lessening of our education, right? I mean, civics isn't even being taught anymore. Latin is being removed from the schools. Pretty soon, the only things that are going to be taught is American history that is sensationalized. So, you're right. I think it's people, and we need to educate each other as much and as greatly as possible, but as simply as possible. We can't just walk up to people and say, "You're an idiot. Why are you so stupid?" That's not going to get anywhere.
That's the Steve method, right?
Yeah, that's the Steve method. That's actually the Ronan method when he gets angry. But, you got to be like, guys, let's just apples to oranges. Would you like to be in a locked room with a 1967 Shelby GT Mustang turned on and locked doors, everything's, whatever, and you have to be in there for an hour? Or would you like that, sissy little Prius that's like a battery and be locked in that one? Everybody should be saying the sissy little Prius because you won't die from breathing in the fumes of water being created.
That's right. All right. So we're getting up close to the hour. Let me ask you, Sam, tell me what you've got going on. What is it that you want to leave us with? What is the final word from Sam Ronan tonight?
The final word for Samuel Ronan is stand up, fight back, resistance. But seriously, we do need to start, doing more than just going on Facebook and Twitter and retweeting. And we also have to do more than the rallies. Yeah, the tax day rally was great. There was, thousands of people there in New York City. But what did that really achieve? Did marching really achieve anything? No. And it's not that I'm lambasting the effort. What I'm saying is social change requires activism to take place, right? You're not going to have social change unless people are upset with it. And you need people upset to help push it. But until you get the legislative changes to be in law, you're not going to have the social change you want. Think of it this way. The civil rights movement was over in the 60s, and black people, for better or for worse, have had equal rights, except they have been constantly fought tooth and nail every single year, every single decade since. And in fact, I believe it was Mississippi, still had segregated schools. So clearly, we're still fighting the battle, and we still need the legislative proposals 50, 60 years later. That's what I want to leave with everybody. We have to be active. We have to run for office. We have to support our candidates, but we have to support our candidates, just one per office, and then do down ballot approaches, unified campaigns. That's what our voice is trying to build. And yeah, we're trying to fundraise. Yeah, we're the new kids on the block. Yeah, we're not, this, that, or the other, but we are developing the structure. All we're trying to do is bring everybody home together. And, it doesn't take much, really. It's just downloading your contact list, of local news media and unions and schools and all that. That's all it takes. With your zip code, put it into our file. You go to ourvoiceinitiative.org and you go to the resources tab and you can scroll down to fill in the data, and you just literally do that, fill in the data. It's that easy. And as far as donations go, I always use this example. 270 million people can make a difference. If each of them donated $1 a month towards something that they cared about, that's $3.4 billion a year. And if you don't think that can change politics in this country, you're dead wrong. Our voice should be the thing that everybody donates to so that we can proliferate into Justice Dems, Bernie Kratz of America, Draft Bernie, all these other things, so that we can start winning our elections. That's what it takes.
All right, Sam. So I'm going to thank you from myself and the rest of Real Progressives for joining us. We hope to have you back on real soon, get an update on what's going on, and look forward to working with you in the future, my friend.
Absolutely, brother. Take care.
Awesome, man. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Steve Grumbine with Real Progressive. We're out. Take it easy.